Hey Axel Snacks, your video is interesting to me in this sense. I actually really care and have a lot of passion about this. And I respect that. We disagree, actually a lot less than you think we do, but we disagree on the nuances, and I'd like to clarify that. Because, you know, what you basically did was you addressed your video to sort of all the conservative stereotypes. And I get that a lot when I debate this stuff. A person like you assumes that I disregard that need, and I don't. That there's wind, solar, hydrogen, etc., that this industry is emerging is not a problem for me. I want to always base these solutions in free markets, whereas that is not fast enough for the environmental extremists. And from watching your video, that's not fast enough for the likes of you. You see yourself as being sort of environmentally righteous, which I find to be funny because I know you're not a God-fearing man. All you've really done, by the way, man, is shift your religious instinct over to the environment, and you sort of hoist all of those knee-jerk human reflexes to worship God. You were created to worship God. You just sort of hoist all those onto the environment. They make you feel good. You cleanse yourself of the sins. You have these carbon credits bestowed upon you by like a priestly figure in Al Gore. It's very funny. The parallels are striking, actually. Take yourself back when we were traveling predominantly by horseback. At that point in time, imagine that a guy who's tinkering around with a combustion engine says, there's this new form of travel, but the combustion engine isn't fully in place yet. But via the government and the teeth of the government, he forces all people who are presently traveling by horseback into a combustion engine vehicle. But here's the big kicker. The combustion engine isn't fully invented yet to meet the need of the travel. But the government knows best, and good-hearted people who wanted to keep this analogy going, relieve the pressure of the horse and all this travel it has to accommodate. It forces everybody into a standstill, not yet technologically prepared combustion engine. Essentially, that's what you have in environmentalists. And I give them a little bit of slack because I do believe they mean well. But this is why people like me are conservatives. If there was a viable market for green energy right now, it was cheap enough, people would invest their money, their time, not subsidies from the government, not government taking over car companies and forcing taxpayers to subsidize what has proven to fail time and time again now if you pay any attention to the news. And this gets back to my point in my video, shifting power to the government. All they were was front for political tomfoolery. That's all that ended up being. And if you actually scratch the surface and look into that stuff objectively, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find corruption, which is always what happens when the government intercedes in the free markets. But nonetheless, a guy like me definitely wants to move forward. Why would you think that I'd be opposed to alternative energy? You don't think that I go to the gas pump? You don't think that I get gouged? The point is I live in the world as it is. I'm fine with taking steps. I want those things to be free markets. I want there to be a viable market to sustain these, grandiose notions, and that will happen. In fact, I would argue it would happen way faster if the government just got out of the business altogether. So these are the nuances. These are the nuances that we disagree on. You want to strong-arm it. You think you have some sort of self-righteous, internal goodness, and because of that, you can use the teeth of the government to force people, force funds, allocate, resources to do the bidding of the big state. No. Absolutely not. A 10 I cannot get under.